Okay, so this is not a donation request video, but the guy Dipen just sent me this article, and I feel bad because I don't check my email for the MGTOW channel because I really don't get emails that much. And he sent me an email on Monday about this article, and it's been 5 days. Then he sent me an email a couple days ago where he posted his first video, and I tried to write him back, and it says email address doesn't exist. So, Dipen, if you're watching, I apologize. I was not ignoring you. And once again, I'm making this video just to make it. It has nothing to do with him. He didn't send me any money or anything. I just feel bad because I don't want anyone to think I'm ignoring them, especially if they're writing me, because I just don't check the email. I don't really get emails for here. But this is Attraction, Inequality, and the Dating Economy, written by Bradford Tuckfield. So it says, Jesus just said the poor would always be with us despite the best efforts of philanthropists and redistributors over the last millennium. He's been right so far. Every nation has the poor and the rich, blah, blah, blah. However, the relentless focus on inequality among politicians is quite narrow. Okay, I'm trying to fast forward. I should have read this article first. I would have been smart before I... Okay, the dating's here. Has written some... Robin Hanson has written some of the fascinating articles. Used the cold and inhuman logic. Economists are famous to compare inequality for access to sex. We follow a few steps of the reason. We can imagine the world of dating as something like an economy in which people possess different amounts of attractiveness, and those with more attractiveness can access more and better romantic experiences. The dating economy's version of consumer goods. If we think of dating this way, we can use the analytical tool of economics to reason of romance in the same way we reason about economies. One of the useful tools economists use to study inequality is the Gini coefficient. That's simply a number between 0 and 1 that is meant to represent the degree of income equality as given a nation or group. Let's fast forward a little here. Some of the enterprising data nerds have taken on the challenge of estimating Gini for the dating economy among heterosexuals. This actually means calculating two Gini coefficients, one for men and one for women. This is because heterosexual men and heterosexual women essentially copy two distinct economies of worlds, with men competing only with each other for women and women only competing only with each other for men. The Gini coefficient for men collectively is determined by women's collective preference and vice versa. If women all find every man equally attractive, the male dating economy will have a Gini coefficient of 0. If all men all find the same woman attractive, consider all women unattractive, the female dating will have a Gini coefficient close to 1. That's like a math problem right here. I'm getting kind of confused, but okay. The two coefficients do not directly influence each other at all, and each sex collectively sets the Gini coefficient, that is, the level of equality for the other sex. A data scientist representing the popular dating app Hinge reported on the Gini coefficients he had... How many times did I use that fucking term, Gini coefficients? He had found in his company's abundant data, treating likes as the equivalent of income. He reported that heterosexual female faced a Gini coefficient of 0.324, while heterosexual males faced a much higher, there's that word again, Gini coefficient of 0.542. So neither sex has complete equality. In both cases, there are some wealthy people access to more romantic experiences. And some poor who have access to fewer none. But with the situation for women is something like the economy with the poor, some middle class, and some middle. The situation for men is closer to a world with smaller number of super billionaires surrounded by huge masses who possess almost nothing, according to the Hinge analysts. Let's see. This girl, Devin, wrote, Tinder's Gini coefficient is 0.58, meaning it has higher inequality than 95% of the world's national economies. It says the bottom 80% of men, in terms of attractiveness, are competing for the bottom of the 22% of women. And the top of 78% of women are competing for the top 20% of men. These studies examine likes and swipes on Hinge and Tinder, respectively, which are inquired if there is to be any contract. And this person wrote an example. Plays out. They said this woman, Tinder. Okay, another study reported in Business Insider found a pattern in messaging on dating apps that is consistent with these findings. And another study run by OkCupid, I like to call it OkStupid because I'm silly, on their huge data sets found that women rate 80% of men as worse looking than medium. Now, here's the funny thing. I realized that the girls on Plenty of Fish are much more attractive than the girls on OkCupid. I also find 80% of the women on, actually, I would say even 85, if not 90% of the women on OkCupid is ugly. But and this 80% below average block receive replies to message only about 30% of the time or less. By contrast, men rate women as worse looking than medium about 50% of the time. This 50% below average block receive messages closer to 40% of the time or higher. This is a very long article. If these findings are to be believed, the great majority of women are only willing to communicate romantically with a small minority of men, while most men are willing to communicate romantically with most women. The black pill. The degree of inequality in likes and matches credibly measure the degree of inequality in attractiveness and necessarily implies that at least a degree of inequality in romantic experiences. It seems hard to avoid a base conclusion that the majority of women find the majority of men unattractive and not worth engaging with romantically, while the reverse is not true. Stated in another way, it seems that men collectively create a dating economy for women with relatively low inequality, while women create a dating economy for men with very high inequality. Social commentators today are very interested in gender gaps, especially the alleged difference in pay between men and women who do the same work. There are notable gaps, including a libido gap. This is well documented in scientific literature, with men desiring sex much more frequently and intensely than women on average. It's also a gap in which younger adults are described as more attractive on average, with an especially large age disadvantage for older women. The Gini, there's that word again, coefficient gap indicated in these studies something like a sex inequality gap, or attractiveness distribution gap. Less obvious, but potentially even more socially significant than some better known gender gaps. There are no villains in this story. Nobody can or should be blamed for this, and their honest preferences. And if women collectively believe that most men are attractive, which grounds does anyone, male or female, have to argue with them? We may pity the large majority of men who are regarded as unattractive and who have or no romantic experiences, but a small percentage of attractive men have many. Just as much consider we live in a monogamous culture, so the 20% of men as regarded as attractive can only be in committed relationships, whereas 20% of women, we may just as well pity the rest of women now, who are designed to be in relationships if they pursue a relationship at all with someone who they regard as unattractive. The only villain in this story is nature, which has molded our preferences so that this tragic mismatch of attraction and availability occurs. So the thing is, you're saying that they shouldn't blame women for this because women have higher standards than men. But yeah, you can blame women for this in the sense that they're the ones saying that looks don't matter. They're the ones saying that men are more choosier about looks, and they're the ones saying that it's all about personality. Yet there's more and more studies coming out that they do care about looks way more than they care about. And so that is the reason why they should be blamed for this. And if they don't want to fuck unattractive guys, well then, once again, there's nothing you can really do about that, sure. But this whole work out and make yourself more attractive thing is still not going to help you. To those who study nature, the various gender gaps in romantic life will not come as a surprise. Evolutionary biologists have seen these type of patterns many times before and can explain each of them. The relative perceived attractiveness of younger women versus older can be explained by the higher fertility of younger adult women. The libido gap can explain the difference made in strategies instinctively pursued by the distinct sexes. So different Gini coefficients Consistently reported for men and women, they're not consistent with a monogamous social structure, most people. Okay, so this goes on and on. There are many animals of all kinds. This article's like this is a book. This isn't an article. But yeah, they goes on and on. The Frog and the Prince and the Beauty and the Beast. The men are usually, yeah, they're ugly and stuff. But once again, in those movies, they say that, oh, the woman doesn't care about the man's looks. She loved him for who he was. But that would never happen in real life, as we all know, unless he was rich. At Beauty and the Beast did have a mansion. So she did fuck him for his house. Yeah. So young people, equality inducing institution of monogamy at all spread in the world. I'm trying to fast forward this. But yeah, it goes on and on. But if you guys want to read the article for yourself, I will put the link in the description. You can read the whole thing. Look at this thing. Oh, these are comments. So the article's over. Let's see the last paragraph. As always, the way forward will be difficult. It may be impossible to revive the religions, behaviors, and institutions and norms that have recently governed the world of love and sex, but are in retreat around the world. The future of Western civilization may need brave new institutions and brave new ways for men and women to fruitfully relate to each other. Whatever rules govern the future of dating and sex, they should find a way to deal with the polygamous instincts that our species have historically possessed and that should show up in the present day and in the statistics of our dating apps, or else be willing to accept the risk of sexual conflict in a war that have historically accompanied high inequality. Technology, institutions, and religions come and go, but the evidence indicates that sexiness inequality is here to stay, and we can only ignore it only at our peril. Bradford Tuckfield is a data scientist in New York City. And then there's a lot of comments here. We should all write comments on there. We should all write, go MGTOW, bros. That'd be funny. Johnny the Monkey. It says, nature inequality leads to violence. What else is going on? Donor house. I would like to agree that most men will be losers in most societies. Men pursue a high risk, high reward, which means most will win. Women don't engage in any risk. Let's see what the woman said. I agree. As a mother of two young boys, I'm now consistently afraid of them. My gut tells me to do everything I can do to help them become strong, confident men, willing to love and protect their woman. Yuck. I was taught by my mom in multiple divorces to not need a man, but I knew I was wrong. Yeah, you don't need a man. Yeah, the man shoot us cum in your snatch at least twice. I hope more women will wake up and learn to appreciate and support men to be providers and protectors. Oh, go fuck yourself. You're going to teach your son to be a cuck. That's what you're going to do. Andrea. Let's see what another one... I don't care what women have to say. Let's read one more. Fascinating. I find it ironic about things that religious apologists are reinforcing many incident religion teachings. I personally been involved with trying to help parents understand Californians, blah, blah, blah. Fuck what this cunt says. Alright, well, thanks for watching, guys. I just want to read this article. If you want to read the whole thing yourself, links in the description. And, we'll go from there. Jak'd, episode 9, coming Monday. That's all I gotta say. Enjoy your weekend. I'm out.